Hello and welcome to Breakfast for Pancakes. I'm your host, PK Sullivan. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite soups. It also happens to be one of the simplest recipes you'll ever learn. This is a Chinese dish called congee. It's a simple rice porridge. It can be as simple as two ingredients, rice and water. How you cook them and what you do with them afterwards is really what makes the dish special. Let's get into it. Ingredients: liquid. Here I'm using chicken stock. 155 grams of long grain rice. Start by washing your rice. Get a large bowl and a fine mesh colander. Add the rice to the colander, then set the colander in the bowl. Add cold water until the rice is submerged. Stir it vigorously to wash off any excess starch. Use several changes of water until it runs clear. Submerge the rice one last time and let it soak while you move to the stovetop. Set a large pot over high heat and add your liquid. Cover it and bring it to a boil. Once it's boiling, drain the rice and transfer to the pot. Stir the rice now and about every 15 minutes so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. The soup needs to boil for 90 total minutes. Replace the lid and get started on the beef. I recommend skirt or flank steak for congee. This is a piece of skirt steak, about 700 grams. Flank and skirt are ideal cuts because they're relatively lean and will stay tender even if cooked well done. And let's face it, there's very little possibility of a rare piece of steak in soup. That said, this piece does need some trimming. I'm removing any extraneous fat and a few pieces of connective tissue. There's a surprisingly big pocket of fat here that I'm trimming out. Congee isn't a greasy dish, so I don't want that fat in there. The key to a tender piece of flank steak or skirt steak is to slice it thinly across the grain. The grain runs the short way across the steak. That doesn't work for a bite-sized piece, so the first step is to cut it into sections. This one was about 10 inches long, so it got cut into rough quarters. From there, just slice the entire steak as thinly as possible across the grain. Use a chef's knife or a santoku for the best results. They're excellent slicers and have the body for top-notch control. Add the beef with about 30 minutes left to go in your 90-minute boil. This will cook the steak to well done, but skirt or flank can take it and still stay tender. Rice, stock, and beef is a pretty plain soup, so while that cooks, it's time to pick and prep your toppings. I'm going with the classics: garlic, scallions, ginger, and soy sauce. Mince your garlic. This is one of the rare dishes where I'll recommend mincing garlic by hand the hard way, rather than using a microplane grater or a garlic press. I just like the distinct little bits. Trim the ends of your scallions and peel off the outer layer. Slice the grain thinly on a bias. Peel and mince a block of fresh ginger. Slice it into planks, stack the planks, and then slice at a 45-degree angle to create angled matchsticks. Run your knife through the pile one last time to chop it up fine. I found this is the best way to get tender minced ginger. Lastly, get your soy sauce ready. When the congee has boiled for 90 minutes, turn off the heat, give it a good stir to loosen anything on the bottom, and move it to the table to serve. Garnish with your toppings and enjoy hot. Okay, but that took a long time. Can it be made in an Instant Pot or rice cooker? Absolutely. Start by washing and soaking your rice just like you did on the stovetop. Then add it to the multi-cooker along with the 64 ounces of liquid. Here I'm using water. Seal the lid and press start on the porridge function. Then just walk away. It takes some time to come up to pressure and about 35 minutes to cook. Then it needs to rest for 20 minutes before you release pressure. If you release pressure too soon, the starch in the congee can actually clog the vent on your Instant Pot, so don't do that. Let it come down off of pressure on its own at least a little bit before you vent. In my experience, it takes about the same amount of time, but you're not tending to it constantly. After your 20 minutes of cool down are up, go ahead and manually release pressure and give your silky smooth congee a stir. I dressed this one up a bit differently. I added the whites of the scallions, plus a medium boiled egg and a good dollop of chili paste. This is exactly what I want when I'm sick. It's warm, it's rich, it's creamy, it's hearty and makes you feel good just by eating it. The beef is super tender. Stirring in the ginger and the garlic and the scallions really gives you a little zip, a little pop, makes it more interesting than just a porridge. There are a ton of different ways you can customize your congee fried dough, which is called yu tian. You can do century eggs, soft-boiled eggs, hard-boiled eggs. There's really almost no limit to what you can put into your congee. I encourage you to experiment, try it out, and make it your own. What's in the pot is just the starting point. Everybody's having congee, but everybody has something a little bit differently. I think there's a real value to that where people get to customize their dish to their own tastes in a socially acceptable manner rather than just salt and pepper at the table. And honestly, I think that's the secret to making a good porridge. Porridges in general got a bad rap because people stopped doing what makes them taste good. Two porridges that don't get a bad rap are risotto and oatmeal. Both of those, you're stirring things into them to make them taste better. It's a canvas. It's a blank slate for you to work your culinary magic. Nobody wants a plain bowl of porridge. Once you start mixing in other ingredients, other flavors, it really comes alive and starts to sing. Back in college, I started using the phrase the interactivity theory of deliciousness. Some nights we would have cookies and ice cream for dessert, and everybody would be making their own ice cream sandwiches, because when you're given ice cream and cookies, that's the natural, fun, enjoyable thing to do. Is it more delicious than eating a cookie and ice cream separately? I don't know, but everybody did it, so I have to believe there is some intrinsic value to that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, you can support me on Patreon. The link is down below. Every month, patrons who are backing at $10 a month or higher get to vote on a recipe that I will do a video on the next month. This is one of those videos. So if you like this, head on over to Patreon, click on subscribe, $10 a month or more, join in on the voting. I'll see you next time.